Before we dive in, viewer discretion is advised. This content is for entertainment purposes. What happens when a beloved comedian walks onto a talk show stage and completely destroys the host with nothing but pure, unfiltered truth? You are about to witness the most brutal takedown in daytime television history. What went down between Joy Behar and Leanne Morgan on The View was not an interview, it was an execution broadcast live to millions. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because this is going to be absolutely wild. Joy Behar sat at the View table with that familiar smug expression, the one that had intimidated guests for 4 decades. The one that said she owned this room and everyone in it. Her perfectly styled hair caught the studio lights as she shuffled through her notes, preparing for what she assumed would be another easy slaughter. 41 years of television dominance had taught her one thing: strike first. Strike hard. Never apologize. The producers had booked Leanne Morgan, the rising star of country comedy with 12 million followers and sold-out theaters across America. But Joy saw none of this. She saw only a small-town comedian from Tennessee, easy prey. Target practice. Entertainment before lunch. She had no idea she was staring at her own executioner. All right, ladies, we are back, Joy announced to the cameras with her signature theatrical flair. Part ringmaster, part predator, circling wounded prey. I am here with Leanne Morgan, who apparently thinks telling jokes about small-town life makes her the next big thing in comedy. The ambush had begun. Leanne, honey, tell our viewers what makes your little story so special. Honey, little, special? 3 words dripping with condescension. 3 verbal daggers designed to cut this country comedian down to size before she could even speak. Joy's co-hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats, sensing the familiar electricity that crackled through the air whenever Joy prepared to dismember a guest. Leanne sat there in a simple but elegant outfit that screamed authentic, while Joy's designer ensemble screamed manufactured. She smiled politely, but her eyes told a completely different story. She had already taken Joy's measure and found her wanting. Well, Joy, Leanne began, her warm Tennessee accent wrapping around the words like honey around a hidden blade. I reckon what makes my comedy special is that it comes from a real place. Real life. Real struggles. Real people. Not everyone needs to put on airs or talk down to folks to get a laugh. The air crackled. First blood had been drawn not with fury, but with a smile and a southern drawl. Joy's smug expression faltered for a fraction of a second before the mask snapped back into place. Oh, please. We all know real comedy requires intelligence and sophistication. I mean, anyone can tell stories about their hometown and get a few chuckles from people who do not know any better. She had fired back with her favorite weapon, intellectual superiority wrapped in dismissive laughter. But the ammunition was weak, and everyone in that studio felt it. You know what is funny to me, Joy? Leanne leaned forward slightly, her tone still friendly but carrying an edge sharp enough to cut glass. The audience leaned in with her. I have been watching your show for years, and I keep waiting for you to say something genuinely funny instead of just mean-spirited. Dead silence. The studio held its breath. You could hear the air conditioning humming, hearts pounding, the sound of a reputation beginning to crack under pressure. Joy's face flushed crimson. 41 years she had built her career on being the sharp-tongued veteran who could cut down anyone, anytime, anywhere. But somehow, this country comedian had just flipped the script in the most devastatingly polite way possible. Excuse me, Joy's voice rose an octave. Defense mechanisms activating. Arsenal deploying. I have been doing comedy longer than you have been alive. Sweetie, do not come on my show and lecture me about what is funny. Sweetie? Another diminutive. Another attempt to make Leanne feel small. Another swing that would miss its target entirely. Oh, honey. Leanne's voice remained calm. Sweet. Utterly unshaken. I am not lecturing you. I am just observing. See, where I come from, we were taught that being mean is not the same as being funny. But maybe that is just small-town values talking. Small-town values. The phrase hung in the air like a grenade with the pin already pulled. Joy's hands clenched on the table, knuckles turning white, the mask slipping further with every passing second. Small-town values, you mean small-minded thinking. Real comedy challenges people, makes them think. It is not all sunshine and rainbows like your little folksy routine. Your little folksy routine. She was running out of ammunition, and everyone knew it. You are absolutely right. Joy, real comedy does challenge people. Leanne nodded thoughtfully, setting the trap with surgical precision. So when was the last time you told a joke that brought people together instead of tearing them apart? When was the last time you made someone feel better about themselves instead of worse? When was the last time your comedy healed instead of hurt? 3 questions. 3 bullets. 3 direct hits to the heart of everything Joy Behar claimed to be. The question hung in the air like smoke from a battlefield. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. For the first time in 4 decades of quick comebacks, 4 decades of verbal dominance, 4 decades of never being caught speechless, she had absolutely nothing. The woman who made her living destroying others had been rendered mute by a simple, honest question from a comedian she had dismissed as beneath her notice. Whoopi Goldberg tried to throw a lifeline, tried to save her drowning colleague. Well, this is getting interesting. Let us talk about your tour, Leanne. But Joy's ego would not allow retreat. Her pride demanded counterattack, even with an empty arsenal. Wait a minute. Are you seriously trying to school me on comedy? Do you have any idea who you are talking to? I have been on television longer than you have been telling jokes at church socials or wherever it is you perform. Church socials? The dismissal of a New York sophisticate looking down at a Tennessee nobody. The last desperate swing of a fighter who knows she is losing. Leanne's smile never wavered. Not once. Not for a fraction of a second. Church socials, comedy clubs, theaters, Netflix specials, sold-out arenas, you name it. Joy. The thing is, it does not matter where you perform or how long you have been doing it. If you have forgotten why you started in the first place, comedy is supposed to heal, not hurt. 8 words that landed like a sledgehammer to everything Joy had built her identity around. Oh, spare me the after-school special philosophy. Joy snapped. Her composure shattered completely now. Comedy is about truth. And the truth is that not everyone is cut out for this business. Some people should stick to their little local circuits instead of trying to play with the big girls. Big girls. The playground taunt of a woman who had run completely out of intelligent things to say. The audience was getting restless, sensing the genuine hostility radiating from Joy like heat from a 5-alarm fire. But Leanne just sat there calm as a summer evening, patient as a hunter who knows the prey has already been wounded, waiting for the perfect moment to deliver the final blow. Big girls. Leanne repeated softly, and something shifted in her demeanor. The southern charm remained, but now it carried the weight of cold steel underneath. Joy. Honey, let me tell you something about big girls. Big girls do not need to tear other people down to feel important. Big girls lift each other up. 2 statements. Parallel structure. Each one a mirror held up to Joy's entire career, reflecting back something ugly. Joy scoffed the defensive mechanism of someone who has no defense left. Please. This is not kindergarten. This is show business. If you cannot handle a little criticism, maybe you should go back to whatever small-town comedy night you crawled out of. Crawled out of. The words of someone trying desperately to make her opponent feel small because she herself was shrinking by the second. Criticism. Leanne tilted her head, looking genuinely puzzled by the word choice. Is that what you call this? Because where I come from, we call it being ugly for no good reason. The audience gasped 200 people, inhaling sharply at the exact same moment. But since you brought up criticism, let me offer you some. The studio held its breath. The camera operators leaned closer. Joy's co-hosts exchanged terrified glances. Everyone sensed that something devastating was about to happen. Your whole career has been built on punching down. Leanne continued, her voice still gentle as a lullaby, her words hitting like precision-guided missiles. You make fun of people who cannot fight back. You mock folks who do not have the platform to defend themselves. And you call it comedy. But real comedy. Joy, real comedy punches up. It takes aim at power, at injustice, at the people who deserve to be taken down a peg. Not at regular folks, just trying to make their way in the world. Joy's face had turned from red to purple. The transformation was complete, from smug predator to cornered animal in less than 10 minutes. How dare you come on my show and psychoanalyze me? You do not know anything about my career or what I have accomplished. Oh, I know plenty. Leanne smiled sweetly, loading her final rounds. I know you have spent years making jokes at the expense of regular people. I know you think being from New York makes you smarter than everyone else. I know you have built a brand around being the mean girl who never grew up. And honestly, Joy, it is just sad. Sad. One word. The most devastating weapon in Leanne's entire arsenal, not anger, not contempt, but pity. Sad Joy's voice cracked. The first sign of real vulnerability breaking through the rage. I am successful. I have a career. I have influence. What do you have? A few YouTube videos and some county fair gigs? Leanne laughed, and it was the most genuine, warm, authentic sound that had been heard on The View in years. You know what I have? Joy? I have people who come to my shows and leave feeling better about themselves. I have fans who tell me my comedy helped them through the darkest times of their lives. I have the respect of my peers because I treat people with dignity. Can you say the same? The silence that followed was not just uncomfortable, it was deafening, damning, absolute. Joy opened and closed her mouth like a fish gasping for air, struggling desperately to find a comeback that would not make her look even more pathetic than she already did. Sunny Hostin attempted damage control, throwing herself on the grenade. Well, different comedians have different styles. Right. Different styles. Leanne interrupted gently, never taking her eyes off Joy for even a second. Is cruelty a style now? Because that is all I have seen from Joy today. She invited me on this show not to have a conversation, but to try to embarrass me in front of millions of people? And the sad part is, she has only embarrassed herself. Joy finally found her voice, though it was shaking with barely contained rage. You think you are so much better than me with your folksy wisdom and your holier-than-thou attitude. Well, let me tell you something, sweetheart. This business will chew you up and spit you out. Nice girls finish last. Maybe. Leanne nodded thoughtfully, considering the words with genuine care. But at least they finish with their souls intact. Tell me, Joy, when you go home at night, are you proud of the person you have become? When you look in the mirror, do you like what you see? When you are alone with your thoughts, are you at peace? 3 questions. 3 missiles aimed directly at the foundation of Joy's entire existence. The questions hit Joy like physical blows. 1, 2, 3 strikes that staggered her visibly. Her composure crumbled completely. And for one terrible moment, the mask slipped entirely. The audience could see past the bravado, past the designer clothes, past the 4 decades of carefully constructed persona straight to the insecure, bitter, lonely woman hiding underneath. I do not have to listen to this. Joy stammered, her hands shaking as she fumbled with her notes like they could somehow save her. This is my show. My show. Actually, Leanne said quietly, her voice carrying the calm authority of absolute truth. I think it is the audience's show. They are the ones who decide what is worth watching. And right now, they are watching you throw a tantrum because someone finally had the courage to tell you the truth. Joy looked around the table at her co-hosts, desperately seeking support, seeking validation, seeking anyone who would take her side. She found only uncomfortable silence. Whoopi was studying her hands. Sunny was staring at the ceiling. The others were avoiding eye contact like their careers depended on it. The realization hit her like a freight train. She was completely and utterly alone in this moment. You do not understand. Joy's voice had dropped to barely above a whisper, the fight draining out of her. This is how this business works. You have to be tough. You have to fight for your place. You have to be willing to do whatever it takes. No. Honey. Leanne's voice was gentle now, almost pitying, and somehow that made it even more devastating. You do not have to become a monster to succeed. You chose to become one. And the saddest part is you have convinced yourself it was necessary, when really, it was just easier than doing the hard work of being genuinely funny. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming, the cameras whirring, the sound of a career collapsing in real time. Joy stared at Leanne with a mixture of hatred and something far more disturbing recognition. As if she was seeing herself clearly for the first time in decades, and the reflection was absolutely horrifying. Joy's breathing became shallow and rapid. The recognition in her eyes morphed quickly back into fury as her defense mechanisms kicked into overdrive. She could not handle the mirror that Leanne was holding up. So she did what she had always done when cornered. She attacked. You know what? Joy stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with an awful screech that made the audience wince. I have had enough of this sanctimonious garbage. You come on here acting like some kind of comedy saint, but you are nothing. You are a nobody from nowhere trying to lecture me about my career. Leanne remained seated, her posture relaxed, her expression compassionate rather than triumphant, her calm an absolute contrast to Joy's meltdown. Joy, please sit down. We are just having a conversation. No? Joy's voice echoed through the studio like a thunderclap. This is not a conversation. This is an ambush. You came here with an agenda to make me look bad, and I will not stand for it. The audience was shifting uncomfortably now, some pulling out their phones to record what was clearly becoming a historic meltdown in real time. The producers in the control room were frantically debating whether to cut to commercial or let this train wreck continue. Either choice would be a disaster. I did not come here with any agenda except to talk about comedy, Leanne said softly, her voice carrying clearly through the chaos. But if you are feeling attacked, maybe you should ask yourself why that is. Sometimes when we hear the truth, it feels like an attack, because we have been lying to ourselves for so long that honesty feels like violence. Stop it. Joy slammed her hand on the table so hard the coffee mugs jumped and rattled. Stop with your folksy psychology and your fake wisdom. You think you are so smart, so insightful. Well, here is some insight for you. This business is cutthroat. It is survival of the fittest. And the fittest is not some small-town nobody who thinks she can waltz in here and lecture her betters. Her betters. The words hung in the air, exposing everything ugly about Joy's worldview in 2 simple syllables. Whoopi finally tried to intervene, sensing the situation spiraling beyond any hope of recovery. Joy, maybe we should take a breath here. Joy whirled on her like a wounded animal turning on its own pack. Do not you start too. Whoopi, I am the one with the edge. The one who asks the tough questions. The one who is not afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Is that what you think you do? Leanne's voice cut through Joy's rant like a blade through silk. Because what I see is someone who mistakes cruelty for courage. Someone who confuses being mean with being smart. You do not ask tough questions, Joy. You just ask cruel ones. There is a difference. That is it. Joy's face had turned an alarming shade of purple, spittle flying as she unleashed her final desperate volley. I do not have to take this from some amateur who probably learned comedy from watching sitcom reruns in her trailer. You want to know what real comedy is? Real comedy is telling the truth, even when it hurts. And the truth is, you will never be more than a novelty act, a cute little distraction for people who do not appreciate real talent. The silence that followed was different from all the silences before. It was not uncomfortable. It was damning. Even Joy seemed to realize she had gone too far, crossed a line that could never be uncrossed, but she was too deep in her rage to back down now. Leanne stood up slowly, her movement graceful and deliberate, commanding attention without demanding it. When she spoke, her voice carried a profound sadness that somehow made her words even more devastating. You know what, Joy? You are right about one thing. Comedy is about telling the truth, even when it hurts. So here's the truth for you. You are not the victim here. You are not the wronged party. You are not being unfairly attacked. You are just a bitter woman who has spent so many years tearing other people down that you have forgotten how to build anything up, including yourself. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Leanne held up a gentle hand that somehow commanded absolute silence. I came here today excited to meet you. Genuinely excited. I grew up watching you, thinking you were this strong, funny woman who had made it in a business that destroys most people. But what I see now is someone who let that business turn her into something ugly. And the saddest part, you do not even see it. How dare you, Joy whispered. But there was no fire left in her voice, just ashes where fury used to live. I dare because someone needs to. Your co-hosts will not tell you they are too scared. Your producers will not tell you you make them too much money. Your audience deserves better than what you have become. But they keep watching out of habit, out of morbid curiosity, out of wondering what train wreck you will create next. Not because you bring them joy. When was the last time you brought anyone joy? Joy. The question hung in the air like a death sentence being read aloud. Joy looked around the studio at the cameras, recording her humiliation, at the audience witnessing her destruction, at her co-hosts, refusing to meet her eyes. And for the first time in 41 years, she seemed to really see what everyone else had been seeing all along. A broken woman. A bitter woman. A woman who had traded her humanity for the illusion of power and come up empty. I've been doing this for 30 years, Joy said weakly, wielding the number like a shield that had already been shattered. And what do you have to show for it, really? Leanne asked gently, almost kindly. Because from where I am sitting, all I see is someone who has spent 3 decades becoming someone nobody wants to be around unless they are being paid to tolerate her. Joy's face crumpled like paper in a fist. For a moment, she looked like she might actually cry on national television. But then the anger flared one last time, a dying star going supernova before collapsing into nothing. You think you have won something here? Joy's voice was shrill now, desperate, stripped of all pretense. You think you have accomplished something by coming on my show and humiliating me in front of millions of people? Well, congratulations. You have destroyed someone who was already down. That must make you feel really good about yourself. Actually, Leanne said quietly, it makes me feel sad. Because I can see the person you could have been. I can see glimpses of the comedian who probably started out just wanting to make people laugh, not cry. But you buried her so deep under all this bitterness and cruelty that I do not think even you remember who she was anymore. Joy stood there swaying slightly, as if Leanne's words had physically staggered her, knocked her off balance in a way no insult ever could. The fight had gone out of her completely. The predator had become prey. The hunter had been hunted. She looked around the studio one final time, searching for something, anything, to hold on to. And when she spoke, her voice was barely audible, broken, defeated. I cannot do this anymore." Without another word, Joy Behar walked off the set. Not the dramatic storm-off of someone trying to make a statement. Not the theatrical exit of someone who planned to return. This was the defeated shuffle of someone who had finally seen themselves clearly and could not bear the sight for one more second. The sound of her high heels on the studio floor echoed through the silence. Click. Click. Click until even that faded away into nothing. The cameras kept rolling. The audience sat in stunned, absolute silence. No one moved. No one spoke. No one breathed. Leanne watched Joy disappear into the wings. And her expression held no triumph, only genuine sadness for what she had witnessed and what she had been forced to do. Whoopi tried to salvage something from the wreckage of what had been a normal morning talk show. Well, that was certainly something. Leanne. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for having me, Leanne replied. But her heart was clearly no longer in the pleasantries. I hope Joy finds what she is looking for. I truly do. As the show finally cut to commercial, the audience slowly began to process the magnitude of what they had just witnessed. They had come expecting light entertainment, celebrity gossip, the usual daytime television fluff. Instead, they had witnessed the complete psychological deconstruction of a television personality who had spent 4 decades hiding behind a mask of cynicism and cruelty. In the end, it was not anger that brought Joy Behar down. It was not shouting. It was not matching her cruelty with more cruelty. It was something far more powerful and far more devastating. It was the simple, unvarnished truth, delivered with compassion by someone who refused to play the game by Joy's rules, refused to sink to Joy's level, refused to become what Joy had become. And that is how a small-town comedian from Tennessee managed to do what no politician had done, what no celebrity had done, what no fellow comedian had ever managed to do in 4 decades of trying. She held up a mirror and forced Joy Behar to see exactly who she had become. The image was so unbearable that Joy simply could not face it anymore. What do you think it takes for someone to truly change when they have spent decades becoming someone they were never meant to be? Is redemption possible after 41 years of cruelty? Can a person rebuild themselves after tearing down so many others? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And do not forget to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one.